In case you're new here, this is a series in which we slow down and take a look at Mario Kart tracks from angles that you've never seen before, appreciating Nintendo's excessive detail work and amazing world building. So far, I've only really checked out tracks that take place inside of buildings, but today we're going to be exploring a much more natural track. Wild Woods, easily one of Mario Kart's nicest looking tracks. It takes you on pathways winding around giant ancient trees that twist up into the air, on rickety woodwork that connects charming little houses through an enormous hollow stump, across a pond surrounded by cute cottages, then back up into the trees. You could probably give that description if you just listened to the soundtrack, but with some fancy lighting and camera work, we can unveil even more hidden throughout this level. We'll start right here where the race does. When you start the race, it seems like you're on a tree branch, but check out these lights next to the start line. They're at a pretty strange angle, and that's because you're actually driving straight up a massive tree. Speaking of those lights, they're the work of the Shy Guys in this area. They've got scaffolding all around these trees, but even more impressive is their village built inside of this hollow tree. There's just so much to look at in here. There are a few different types of houses that you can spot. Some have big leaves on them, some have chimneys, or makeshift chimneys, or even additional doors. Just being able to stop and look at this area, we can see so much cool detail, like this hollowed log with a lantern in it. Or this little bridge. I'm just fascinated by the fact that these houses all connect. And what's even more impressive is that this village is modeled all the way down. They could have just made it black down here, but it's an actual modeled area. It's clearly lower quality, but it's just so cool that there's a little river and everything down here. Moving on from this cozy little settlement, we make our way down the water slide. The water looks a lot better in game, sorry. You're shot out of the log and onto the water, where you'd usually cross it in a matter of seconds. But let's check out these houses. These belong to the Toads rather than the Shy Guys. They're a little bigger and they seem to have more variation. Some of them have porches, stables, little firewood chopping logs. These are really fun to look at, and again, they all feel connected thanks to this path. It actually has a bridge that goes over the stream that feeds into this pond. This pond looks better in game too. My blender skills just aren't enough to make it look very good here. Moving towards the giant tree where the race starts and ends, we can see some pretty cool stuff going on either side of it. You can see there are these cool little staircases that lead up to these lifts. I couldn't find the actual model that goes up and down these, but it's basically just an elevator for Toads. It takes them all the way up to the starting line, where this track concludes. But let's go where no kart has gone before. Let's leave the track for a second and explore this forest. I'm sorry to say that it's pretty low quality the second you leave the track, obviously, but it's still interesting. I like this cliff that surrounds the forest, because you can see that its texture is an image of a mountainside somewhere. After doing a reverse image search, it looks like it's gotta be the Verdun Gorge in France. Well, it looks like that's pretty much everything there is to look at in Wild Woods. This track was a total blast to explore. It ended up having more to look at than I first expected. I hope you had fun exploring this track with me, and I hope you join me again in the future. Thanks.